Have you ever walked through endless aisles of movies, holding a blue and yellow membership card in your hand, wondering which film would make your Friday night unforgettable? For millions of Americans, that wasn't just a memory, it was a weekly tradition. Long before Netflix, Disney Plus, and YouTube became part of everyday life, there was one company that completely dominated home entertainment. At its peak, it operated more than 9,000 stores around the world, employed over 80,000 people, and generated billions of dollars every year. On Friday evenings, parking lots outside its stores were packed with families searching for the perfect movie. It seemed unstoppable. But in less than 2 decades, the giant that once ruled the entertainment industry collapsed into bankruptcy, closing almost every one of its stores. The story of Blockbuster isn't just about renting movies. It's a story about innovation, explosive growth, corporate mistakes, missed opportunities, and one decision that would become one of the most expensive business mistakes in history. To understand why Blockbuster became so successful, we have to go back to the mid-1980s. In 1985, the home video industry was exploding. More and more American families were buying VCRs, making it possible to watch movies whenever they wanted instead of waiting for television broadcasts. Small video rental stores appeared everywhere. Most of them were family-owned businesses with limited selections, poor organization, and inconsistent customer service. Some stores carried only a few hundred movies, while others kept handwritten records of rentals. Finding a specific movie often meant searching through crowded shelves or asking an employee for help. One entrepreneur believed there had to be a better way. His name was David Cook. Unlike most people entering the movie rental business, Cook wasn't a filmmaker or an entertainment executive. He had built a successful software company that specialized in managing large databases. When he looked at video rental stores, he saw something others didn't. He saw chaos. Movies weren't organized efficiently. Inventory was difficult to track. Popular titles were constantly unavailable. Store owners often had no idea which films were making money and which were collecting dust on the shelves. Cook believed computer technology could solve these problems. Using software to manage inventory, he designed a store where every movie could be tracked electronically. Customers would have access to thousands of titles instead of hundreds, and employees could instantly locate available copies. It was a revolutionary idea for the time. On October 19, 1985, the first Blockbuster video store opened in Dallas, Texas. The difference was obvious the moment customers walked through the doors. The stores were brightly lit, clean, spacious, and professionally designed. Movies were organized into clear categories like action, comedy, horror, science fiction, family films, and new releases. Instead of dusty shelves and handwritten labels, customers found wide aisles and thousands of neatly displayed VHS tapes. For many Americans, visiting Blockbuster felt more like shopping in a modern supermarket than browsing a small neighborhood business. The company also focused heavily on customer experience. Employees were trained to help customers choose movies based on their interests. Families could spend an hour simply walking through the aisles discussing what to watch. Choosing a movie became part of the entertainment itself. Parents searched for the latest Hollywood hits while children rushed toward the colorful family section filled with Disney classics and animated adventures. Every visit created an experience that streaming services would later struggle to replace. Another advantage was Blockbuster's enormous inventory. Instead of stocking only a handful of copies, stores often carried dozens of the newest releases. While local competitors frequently ran out of popular films, Blockbuster gave customers a much better chance of finding what they wanted. The company also invested heavily in technology. Its computerized inventory system allowed managers to monitor which movies rented the most, which locations needed additional copies, and how customer demand changed over time. This data-driven approach gave Blockbuster a significant advantage over smaller competitors. Success came quickly. Within just a year, Blockbuster had already opened multiple stores across Texas. But founder David Cook wasn't interested in building only a regional chain. He wanted Blockbuster to become a national brand. To make that happen, the company needed much more money than Cook could provide on his own. Fortunately, investors quickly recognized the opportunity. The video rental market was growing rapidly, and Blockbuster had developed a business model that was highly scalable. Unlike traditional stores that relied on guesswork, every new Blockbuster location followed the same layout, the same technology, the same customer service standards, and the same recognizable branding. Expansion became incredibly fast. Instead of opening stores one by one, Blockbuster began acquiring smaller video rental chains across the United States. Each acquisition instantly added dozens, or sometimes hundreds, of locations. The famous blue and yellow Blockbuster logo started appearing everywhere. By 1987, just 2 years after opening its first store, the company had grown into one of the largest video rental businesses in America. Its rapid expansion attracted the attention of Wall Street and major corporations looking to invest. Then came a turning point that would transform Blockbuster from a fast-growing company into an entertainment empire. In 1987, a group of investors led by entrepreneur Wayne Huizenga acquired a controlling interest in Blockbuster. Huizenga already had a reputation for building enormous businesses. He had previously transformed waste management into one of the largest waste disposal companies in America, and later helped create AutoNation, one of the country's biggest automotive retailers. He understood one thing better than almost anyone else: scale wins. After taking control, Huizenga pushed Blockbuster's expansion into overdrive. The company wasn't satisfied with opening a few dozen stores every year. Instead, it aimed to dominate the entire market before competitors could catch up. Every month, new Blockbuster locations appeared across the country. Smaller independent video stores suddenly found themselves competing against a company with superior technology, larger movie selections, stronger advertising, and far greater financial resources. Many couldn't survive. Some closed. Others sold their businesses directly to Blockbuster. By the end of the 1980s, Blockbuster had become far more than another video rental company. It was becoming a cultural phenomenon, and during the decade that followed, its growth would become one of the greatest retail success stories in American history. As the 1990s began, Blockbuster was no longer just a successful company. It had become a part of American culture. For millions of families, a trip to Blockbuster wasn't something unusual. It was part of the weekly routine. Friday evening often meant stopping by the local Blockbuster before heading home. Parents would browse the latest releases, teenagers searched for action or horror movies, and children rushed straight to the family section, hoping to convince their parents to rent one more cartoon. Choosing a movie became an event of its own. People walked through the aisles, read the descriptions on the back of VHS boxes, debated which movie was worth watching, and sometimes spent nearly an hour before making a decision. It was entertainment before the entertainment even began. By the early 1990s, Blockbuster stores were opening at an incredible pace. The company wasn't simply building new locations, it was buying competitors across the country. Hundreds of independent video rental stores disappeared as Blockbuster expanded into new cities. Its recognizable blue and yellow sign became impossible to miss. Whether you lived in New York, Los Angeles, Dallas, Chicago, or a small suburban town, chances were there was a Blockbuster just a short drive away. Customers appreciated something that smaller stores often couldn't provide: consistency. Every Blockbuster looked familiar. The layout was almost identical from one location to another. New releases were always displayed near the entrance. Popular genres had dedicated sections. Children's movies occupied brightly colored shelves. Video games were arranged separately. Customers always knew where to look. This standardization may sound ordinary today, but at the time it was revolutionary for the video rental industry. Blockbuster also invested enormous amounts of money into purchasing copies of new movies. Instead of ordering just 5 or 10 copies like many independent stores, Blockbuster sometimes purchased hundreds of copies of major Hollywood releases for its larger markets. That meant customers were much more likely to find the newest Blockbuster available. The company built close relationships with Hollywood studios. Movie studios loved Blockbuster because every new release meant massive orders. A single Blockbuster film could result in tens of thousands of VHS copies being shipped to stores across America. The relationship benefited everyone. Studios sold more movies. Customers had better access to new releases. And Blockbuster generated enormous rental revenue. In 1994, another major event changed the company's future. Media giant Viacom acquired Blockbuster for approximately $8.4 billion, making it one of the largest corporate acquisitions of the decade. At the time, the deal seemed brilliant. Viacom owned television networks, entertainment businesses, and valuable media properties. Combining those assets with the largest video rental chain in the world appeared to create a perfect match. Investors believed the future looked brighter than ever. Around the same time, technology was beginning to evolve. The VHS cassette had dominated home entertainment for years, but a new format was on the horizon, the DVD. Compared to VHS tapes, DVDs were smaller, lighter, more durable, and offered significantly better picture and sound quality. Instead of resisting the new technology, Blockbuster embraced it. The company gradually replaced VHS inventories with DVDs across thousands of locations. Customers appreciated the improved quality, and the transition happened surprisingly quickly. For Blockbuster, it looked like another successful adaptation. By the late 1990s, the company had reached extraordinary heights. More than 6,000 stores operated worldwide. Millions of customers held Blockbuster membership cards. Annual revenue climbed into the billions of dollars. The company employed tens of thousands of people. At its peak, Blockbuster became the undisputed king of home entertainment. Its dominance was so overwhelming that many people simply assumed it would always exist. After all, who could possibly compete with thousands of physical stores spread across multiple countries? Then there were the famous late fees. Almost everyone who rented movies from Blockbuster had experienced them. Rent a movie on Friday, forget to return it on time, come back a few days later, and suddenly you owed extra money. For customers, late fees were frustrating. Many complained about them. Some even avoided renting movies because they worried about forgetting the return date. But from Blockbuster's perspective, those fees were incredibly profitable. Late fees generated hundreds of millions of dollars every year. Some estimates suggested they accounted for around 16% of the company's annual revenue. Executives viewed them as an essential part of the business model. Customers viewed them as a constant annoyance. Yet that difference in perspective would eventually become a serious problem. Despite growing criticism, Blockbuster had little reason to worry. Business was booming. Stores remained crowded. Hollywood continued producing blockbuster films. Families kept renting movies every weekend. From the outside, everything appeared perfect. Yet, beneath the surface, the world was beginning to change. Personal computers were becoming more common. Internet connections were improving. Online shopping was slowly gaining popularity. Companies like Amazon had already demonstrated that consumers were becoming comfortable ordering products without visiting physical stores. Most traditional retailers underestimated this shift. Blockbuster was no exception. Its leadership remained confident that customers would always prefer walking into a store, browsing shelves, and taking home a movie immediately. It seemed like common sense. After all, internet speeds were slow. Streaming technology barely existed. Downloading a single movie could take many hours, or even days. Who would ever choose that instead of driving to a nearby Blockbuster? That assumption seemed perfectly reasonable, but history would prove it to be one of the company's greatest mistakes. Because in 1997, a tiny startup founded in California introduced a completely different way to rent movies. Its name was Netflix. At first, almost nobody considered it a threat, even Blockbuster barely noticed it, but that small company would eventually destroy one of the largest entertainment businesses America had ever seen. And Blockbuster's response, or rather its failure to respond, would become one of the most famous examples of corporate misjudgment in business history. When Netflix launched in 1997, it didn't look like a company that could threaten Blockbuster. In fact, it looked almost insignificant. There were no thousands of stores, no famous brand, no billion-dollar revenue, no massive advertising campaigns. Instead, Netflix offered something surprisingly simple. Customers could visit a website, choose a DVD online, and receive it through the mail a few days later. When they finished watching it, they simply mailed it back. It sounded slower than driving to Blockbuster. Many people dismissed the idea. Even Blockbuster's executives believed there was little to worry about. After all, why would customers wait days for a movie when they could rent one immediately? But Netflix wasn't trying to beat Blockbuster at its own game. It was creating an entirely different one. One of Blockbuster's biggest sources of income had always been late fees. Netflix eliminated them completely. Customers could keep a DVD for as long as they wanted. There were no penalties, no unexpected charges. When they returned one movie, the next title on their list was automatically shipped. The experience was simple, convenient, and stress-free. Consumers loved it. Blockbuster underestimated how much people hated late fees. The company believed customers accepted them as part of renting movies. In reality, many customers resented them for years. Netflix turned that frustration into one of its greatest competitive advantages. Then came one of the most famous stories in business history. In the year 2000, Netflix founders Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph approached Blockbuster with an offer. Netflix was still struggling financially. The company proposed selling itself to Blockbuster for around $50 million. Compared to Blockbuster's size, the price was tiny. Executives listened to the presentation, then they declined. According to multiple accounts, some people in the meeting even laughed at the idea. To them, Netflix looked like a small internet company with an uncertain future. Blockbuster believed its physical stores gave it an unbeatable advantage. Why spend millions buying a business that mailed DVDs to customers? At the time, the decision appeared logical. Looking back, it became one of the most expensive missed opportunities in corporate history. Within 2 decades, Netflix would be worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Blockbuster would disappear. Still, the rejection alone didn't destroy Blockbuster. The real problem was what happened next. Netflix continued improving. Blockbuster barely changed. As broadband internet expanded across America, more people became comfortable using online services. Netflix refined its recommendation system, making it easier for customers to discover movies they actually wanted to watch. Instead of wandering through store aisles hoping to find something interesting, subscribers received personalized suggestions based on their viewing history. Today, that sounds normal. Back then, it was revolutionary. Meanwhile, Blockbuster remained focused on its retail stores. The company had invested billions of dollars into thousands of physical locations. Those stores generated enormous revenue, but they also came with enormous costs: rent, utilities, maintenance, employees, inventory. Every location represented a significant expense. Netflix didn't have that burden. Its business model was becoming more efficient as it grew. Blockbusters became more expensive. Finally, Blockbuster realized the internet couldn't be ignored. In 2004, it launched its own online DVD rental service. On paper, it looked competitive. Customers could order DVDs online, similar to Netflix, but there was a major problem. But the numbers simply didn't work. The business model that made Blockbuster successful during the VHS era no longer matched the way people watched movies. In 2011, Dish Network purchased Blockbuster's remaining assets, hoping to give the famous brand a second chance. Several hundred stores stayed open, but customer demand continued to fall. Month after month, more locations closed. The familiar blue and yellow signs disappeared from shopping centers across America. Eventually, almost every Blockbuster store was gone, except one. In Bend, Oregon, a single independently operated Blockbuster remained open. What was once an ordinary video rental store slowly became something much bigger, a living museum. People traveled from across the United States and even other countries just to visit the last Blockbuster in the world. They no longer came only to rent movies. They came to experience a piece of history. Inside, the store still looks like a Blockbuster from the 1990s. DVDs fill the shelves, original signs remain on the walls, and employees still help customers choose movies. For many visitors, walking through the doors feels like returning to another era. Today, the last Blockbuster represents not the future of entertainment, but nostalgia. Looking back, many people remember the company's decision to reject Netflix as one of the biggest mistakes in business history. But Blockbuster's downfall was caused by more than one decision. The company became trapped by its own success. Its thousands of stores generated billions of dollars, and executives struggled to abandon a profitable business model for an uncertain future. This is known as the innovator's dilemma, when successful companies fail to adopt new technologies because those technologies threaten their existing business. Blockbuster was not the first company to make this mistake, and it won't be the last. Its story remains a lesson that no company is too powerful to fail. Blockbuster didn't disappear because people stopped loving movies. People simply changed the way they watched them. The future was no longer inside stores filled with shelves of DVDs. It was online. Today, watching a movie takes only a few seconds. No membership card, no return dates, no late fees, no trip across town. For millions of people who grew up in the 1980s and 1990s, Blockbuster was more than a place to rent movies. It was a part of their lives. And although almost every store has disappeared, Blockbuster remains one of the greatest examples of how success can create confidence, confidence can become complacency, and complacency can bring down even the biggest companies in the world.